Hi guys, today we'll be talking about my favorite cactus, Astrophytum. In this video, I'll be sharing to you everything you need to know in taking care of Astrophytum, from how often to water to how to make them bloom, so be sure to stick around until the end. What are Astrophytum? Astrophytum asterias or star cactus are small green spineless globular cactus that are native to Mexico and southern Texas, USA. Instead of spines, they have tiny tough or white trichomes that form unique and beautiful patterns. It has beautiful bright yellow, sometimes pink or red flowers with fuzzy floral tubes. They produce fuzzy seed pod bearing relatively large black or brown seeds which are easy to germinate. Here are the main things that you need to consider to keep them alive and healthy. Soil mix. Astrophytum grow best in a well-draining porous soil mix. Soil mix that contains at least 70% non-organic such as pumice, perlite, grit, along with 30% organic will work best. Avoid soil mixes that are too compact and can retain high moisture. I usually add peat moss to the soil mix since star cactus prefer acidic soil. This cactus lives under acacia trees and bush in nature. The decomposition of leaves and plant material create an acidic environment for them. In addition, acidic soil will also enhance the cactus absorption of phosphorus and other trace or micronutrients. Another thing, I usually add vermiculite since it helps provide additional moisture to the cactus, but at the same time doesn't make the soil mix too wet or soggy. Vermiculite expands when wet, preventing compacted soil mix and create air channels which allow the roots to breathe. It also helps regulate the roots' temperature. I already made the video about my Astrophytum soil mix. The link is in the description below. Water. Astrophytum, just like other cactus, needs water. The best method is the soak and dry method. It is best to water the cactus thoroughly until the water starts to drip out the drainage hole. Then wait until the soil mix dries almost completely before watering again. You may want to skip watering if it has been raining in your place for days or when the temperature is lower than their optimal growth temperature, especially if it is below freezing point. Remember that colder temperature retains moisture in the soil and stop the growth of cactus. These cactus can survive even if you don't water them for a month or two. I have this Astrophytum asterias sitting in my working table for about 3 months already. The buyer canceled this order and I forgot to pot them. As you can see, they still look healthy. The best water to use is rainwater. It helps flushes toxic substances or salts in the soil mix. Avoid chlorinated tap water and hard water since it can build up mineral salts deposit. These deposits make the soil mix alkaline which can hinder and block absorption of essential cactus nutrients, such as phosphorus, which is responsible for flowering and disease resistance. Sunlight. In nature, Astrophytum lives under trees, bushes, besides rock and under leaf litter. These provide partial shade to them. Place your Astrophytum in an area that receives at least 8 hours of filtered sunlight. I use UV plastic and shade net to achieve this. It will also give your cactus the bright and vibrant green color. If you don't have a greenhouse, you can expose them to morning sunlight then bright indirect sunlight for the rest of the day. Due to their lack of spines, avoid direct afternoon sun since they can easily get sunburn. Astrophytum like warm temperature. They thrive in temperature above 20 degrees Celsius. These cacti are not cold tolerant since they originate from a subtropic region. If you are living in a region which experiences cold or freezing temperature, you may want to keep them warm and avoid watering. In my experiences, they grow well and fast when the temperature is above 30 degrees Celsius. Some greenhouses in Thailand can even go up to 40 to 50 degrees Celsius. But keep in mind that these greenhouses has UV plastic, shade nets, and a good air circulation. Maintenance for Astrophytum. Fertilizer. In general, all cactus still needs to be fertilized occasionally. I usually add slow-release fertilizer on the soil mix when I repot them. I also feed them blooming fertilizer diluted to have strength during summer or blooming season. Repotting. Astrophytum needs regular repotting when they are young to allow more room for growth and to assure it reaches mature size. This will also replenish the nutrients and minerals in their soil mix. When repotting, I trim the roots, cut all the root hair and lateral roots, leaving only the primary root. Then air dry for a few days until the wound is healed. I do this for faster growth. The cactus will grow new roots which are more efficient in absorbing nutrients than the older roots. After potting, I place them in a bright area and water them a little since their roots are just starting to grow. I also add top dressings such as akadama. These provide a thin layer between the cactus and the soil mix. It also keeps the soil mix at place when watering and make your cactus looks finished. For the pot, I prefer using tall slender pots since Astrophytum have a turnip-like roots. This will give their roots more room to grow. Do not overpot them. A pot slightly bigger than the cactus will work well. For beginners, you can use terracotta pots. Pest control. Astrophytum are prone to common cactus and succulent pests like scale, mealybug, and root mealybugs. For me, prevention is better than cure. That is why I add systemic insecticides when potting them. This will protect them from harmful insects for months. I also make sure that the soil mix I use is clean. Bacteria and fungi can also infect the Astrophytum when there are open wounds or when the humidity is high. That is why during rainy season, I spray systemic fungicide. Propagation. In Asian countries, especially in Thailand and Japan, Astrophytum is one of the most collected and cultivated cactus. They are responsible for creating several cultivars which enhance and focus on various features, such as the amount of trichomes, pattern of flocking, number and appearance of ribs, and color and shape of flowers to name some. These cacti can be easily propagated by seeds. I already made a separate video for pollination and sowing. You can check the description below for the link. More care tips and frequently asked questions. How do you make an Astrophytum to bloom? Astrophytum starts blooming when it's approximately 2 years old. They usually flower from March to June. Proper soil mix, water, and sunlight is the key to flowering. You need to make sure that your soil mix is around 5 to 6.5 pH. You can do this by adding acidic mediums. If your soil mix is alkaline, the Astrophytum will have a hard time absorbing phosphorus and other trace elements. Phosphorus is the main nutrient responsible for flowering. You also need to be careful in watering. The water you are giving your plants can change the pH of the soil mix. Tap water from the faucet is often mixed with chlorine or fluorine, which make it on the alkaline side. Proper sun exposure is also crucial. Sun provides the energy for the process of photosynthesis to occur. Photosynthesis converts sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water into carbohydrates or energy. This energy is used by the Astrophytum to grow, flower, and produce fruits. Some of the things I do to make my Astrophytum flower non-stop is to repot and root trim the cactus 2 months before their blooming season. This will give them some rest and will help them grow new roots that are efficient in absorbing nutrients. During the start of 4 months, I start fertilizing them with half-strength blooming fertilizer once a month. The brand I use is Siam Fertilizer Bloom. It has 15-30-15 with added trace elements and vitamins. Trace elements are also important in cactus flowering. How to know if I am overwatering my Astrophytum? The Astrophytum are starting to have cracks in between ribs or you see tiny tear on its skin. It means that you are giving them too much water. But there are Astrophytum that tends to split in between the ribs even if you are not overwatering it. If you see tiny cracks, you may want to keep the Astrophytum as dry as possible and wait for them to heal. This is to avoid rot. Remember that it is better to underwater Astrophytum than overwater them. If you're not sure if you need to water them, you can opt to skip and water next week instead. How to know if you are giving them too much sunlight? The skin of Astrophytum will change. Astrophytum usually have green color except for Choco cultivar. If the color starts to become dull or brownish, it means that it is getting too much sunlight. Experience is still the best teacher. What works for me may not work for you, but hopefully this information and tips will serve as a guide for you. Make sure that the elements are close enough to their native environment in which they are accustomed to growing. I killed around 4 Astrophytum before I was able to find the right balance for them. The key is to keep on researching and be a good observer. You'll learn from your own experiences. If you have questions, suggestions, and feedback, don't hesitate to comment. I read all your comments and try to respond to them as much as I can. So if you have questions that were not answered here, feel free to ask. Thank you for watching.